Okay, welcome to everyone in this session. It is 3 o'clock on my computer, so I think we can begin. I won't speak for too long so that the other presenters are going to have more time for their presentations, and I'm sure everyone would like to communicate with them and ask them questions. So I do want to start by recognizing that although we all are visiting from different areas across the country, possibly outside the country, that I would like to recognize that I'm attending from the Robinson-Huron Treaty Territory up in Northern Ontario in the Sault Ste. Marie area. This is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe peoples and many others as well. We have multiple First Nations in our community, including the Missinaba Cree First Nation, Métis Nation of Ontario, Garden River First Nation, Batchewana First Nation, and many of our friends across the current Canada-US border as well. So recognizing all these peoples and thanking them also for their collaborations in much of the work that we do and for being willing to collaborate with us also. So for those of you who are in attendance, if you would like to recognize the territories that you are joining from, that would be wonderful. This is totally optional, of course. And in the meantime, I would like to just preface this session by saying that we put this idea together because we've noticed over time that there's a little bit of a gap in terms of hearing the voice of Northern Ontario communities in this Sustainable Development Goals discussion that has been happening across the country. I've attended this conference in the past, as well as other meetings, and a lot of the focus is on larger cities and urban areas with recognition of the differences between those areas and rural or more northern or remote areas, but not as much voice from those areas. And so that is the reason for this session today, and it is a double session. We'll start from 3 o'clock now with the representation from the cities, and then at 4 o'clock we'll get into hearing from some of the projects from Lakehead University and Algoma University. So without any more ado, I will introduce our speakers. We have from the City of Thunder Bay, Amy Coombs, who's the Sustainability Coordinator with the City of Thunder Bay. We have Christina Beaton, who is the Environmental Coordinator from the City of Timmins, and also Emily Cormier from the City of Sault Ste. Marie, Sustainability Coordinator there as well. So I will pass it on to Amy first, and then to Christina, and then to Emily, and we'll have Q&A at the end. I would like to just quickly note that I will be monitoring the Q&A box, but I won't be monitoring as much the chat. So if there are questions you'd like to ask the speakers, please put them into the formal Q&A section of the meeting. Thank you. Go ahead, Amy.
Thanks, Elaine. I will just share my screen here. Okay, so hopefully everybody can see that. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Amy Coombs, and I am the Sustainability Coordinator for the City of Thunder Bay. And I'm joining and honored to live and work on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, which includes the Ojibwe people of Fort William First Nation, signatory to the Robinson Superior Treaty of 1850, and also acknowledge the contributions of the Métis people to our community. I'm here today to talk about how the City of Thunder Bay, along with all of our community partners, are addressing the call to action presented within the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Action, for Sustainable Development. I'd also like to preface this presentation by saying that I am not a subject matter expert in all of these goals and plans, and it is because of the fabulous people and organizations that we have here in Thunder Bay that I'm able to showcase some of the incredible work that is being done. Okay, so I will be going over a few of the questions that were given to us to kind of frame this presentation. So why is our community interested in considering sustainable development goals at the local level? How is the City of Thunder Bay and localized organizations intending to use local data and information related to the sustainable development goals? And how does SDG localization differ in the north versus the southern regions of Ontario? So first of all, why? So the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development provides a shared blueprint for peace and prosperity for people and the planet, now into the future. Who doesn't want that? So at its heart are the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which are urgent call to action for by all countries. So they provide an important framework for making communities safer and healthier. In order for Canada to meet its targets, all orders of government, including municipalities, must do their part to track local indicators and meet their targets. Here in Thunder Bay, we have some amazing community partners who are committed to creating a systematic and comprehensive evaluation of our community's progress towards achieving sustainability. So how is the City of Thunder Bay and local organizations intending to use this data? So here in Thunder Bay, like I mentioned, we have some amazing community partners who are committed to evaluating our progress towards sustainability. So I'm going to highlight 4 community plans and strategies for you that we will be using to track SDGs. First of all, I oversee Earth Care Thunder Bay. It's a program which is a partnership between the community and the municipality to work together on community sustainability, climate adaptation, and greenhouse gas reduction. Earth Care is guided by the sustainability plan, and our mission is to lead the community in securing the environmental health of our region and thereby improving social, cultural, and economic well-being for future generations. This year, we are updating the sustainability plan, which provides an opportunity to look at the Sustainable Development Goals and the Voluntary Local Review and base new actions around those goals. Through the work of Earth Care, we also have developed a climate adaptation strategy and a net zero strategy with the goal of reaching net zero emissions by 2050. Oops, sorry, I'll go back. So we have, through the Earth Care platform, we have several working groups that were created around different themes, as you can see here. We have adaptation, air, green building, community greening, energy, mobility, food, water, land use planning. And each of these working groups have been tracking progress on environmental sustainability in relation to their themes since 2004. Indicators such as water quality, GHG emissions, number of rain gardens installed, budget for urban forestry, things like that, transportation to work or school, all directly related to the Sustainable Development Goals, and many were used in the Voluntary Local Review. In 2021, Thunder Bay developed its Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan. The ultimate goal of this plan is to achieve sustainable communities where everyone is safe and has a sense of belonging, opportunities to participate, and where individuals and families are able to meet their needs for education, healthcare, food, housing, income, and social and cultural expression. A population level indicators report was prepared as part of the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan. The report uses the Sustainable Development Goals framework and includes 30 local indicators, which will be tracked over time to assess progress towards achieving locally identified goals. In 2019, the United Way of Thunder Bay approved a new community impact plan designed to help guide decision-making and the allocation of funding to address community priority areas. This plan was developed after extensive community consultation and review of many community reports and information. The focus of the plan is to collaborate with community partners to work towards a long-term aspiration of a community free of poverty. The plan comprises 3 core goals: meeting people's basic needs, a connected and inclusive community, and a community where all youth graduate. Many of the UN SDGs correlate directly with the plan's core goals and anticipated outcomes. Among the SDGs that the plan addresses are no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education, decent work and economic growth, and reduced inequalities. The Thunder Bay Poverty Reduction Strategy has been working for the last decade on reducing and eliminating poverty in Thunder Bay. They work collectively with many organizations to assist them and help advocate for financial empowerment, income equality, and prosperity for everyone in the city. The Lakehead Social Planning Council, which manages the poverty reduction strategy, also provides income supports for individuals in Thunder Bay with the Community Volunteer Income Tax Program, utility assistance, and also Housing 211 Ontario North. So how is SDG localization different in the North? Well, here in Thunder Bay, we're very isolated. We don't have a major city 30 or 40 minutes away. We are about 702 kilometers east of Winnipeg and 704 kilometers northwest of Sault Ste. Marie, if you travel by car. So it's so important for us here in Thunder Bay to really work together with our community partners and support the work that each other are doing. You know, we sit along the north shores of Lake Superior with rich natural landscapes surrounding us on all sides. As stated in the latest IPCC report, it highlights the very important role that our natural environment plays in adapting to the coming changes due to climate change. And it's now more important than ever to protect and restore those natural areas. And though Thunder Bay is a smaller city, we are an important hub for the North. We provide many opportunities for high quality of life with vibrant local food, art and cultural scenes, economic and entrepreneurial opportunities, and outdoor adventures everywhere. The United Way, Lakehead Social Planning Council, Earth Care Thunder Bay, and the Community Safety and Wellbeing Strategy, we are all looking forward to working more with community partners committed to Thunder Bay VLR to help track and measure progress towards achieving these important goals. And that concludes my quick presentation, and I will now hand it over to Christina.
Hello, everyone. My name is Christina Beaton, and I'm the Environmental Coordinator for the City of Timmins. I'm joining you today from the traditional territory of the Untitled First Nation. I'm honored to be here today and to be speaking about sustainable development goals from a Northern Ontario perspective. Although our municipality is new to SDG localization, we are passionate and want to advance this important work. The City of Timmins is actively working on a variety of environmental and sustainability initiatives, both within a corporate and community context. I want to start by mentioning that we are not experts on SDG localization, and this presentation does not encompass all of the work that is being done by the City of Timmins, but merely from the perspective of the Environmental Services Department. Municipalities have traditionally been responsible for services and infrastructure, but the need and support to expand programs to include sustainability and decision-making is at the forefront of environmental departments. Environmental programs in Northern Ontario have largely been centered on regulatory compliance. As environmental programs and sustainability initiatives have grown in Southern Ontario and throughout Canada, so has the support to initiate and develop these programs in Northern municipalities. We have historically focused on waste management programs, followed by energy conservation, primarily to meet regulatory compliance and fiscal responsibility. But our sustainability programs have expanded over the years to include climate change mitigation, climate change adaptation, and community programs. The Environmental Services Department leads all of these programs, and we have recently been focusing on highlighting the interconnectedness of these programs and creating awareness. This led to the development of the Sustainable Timmins Framework, which you can see on the slide here, which presents several pillars of sustainability. We have energy, community, waste management, and climate change. One of the biggest challenges we face is community awareness of the sustainability programs and initiatives. We're working to bridge the gap to promote and encourage community feedback on these programs. We recognize that the City of Timmins is not unique to this challenge, being in Northern Ontario, but we are committed to bridging this gap. As we continue to work towards expanding and improving Sustainable Timmins, we are beginning to review these pillars and initiatives with consideration of these sustainable development goals. And this is something that we're passionate about to ensure local action is being taken. I'll now give you a quick overview of the Sustainable Timmins pillars and where we plan to apply relevant SDGs. For energy conservation, we have Energy Conservation and Demand Management Plan. This is a corporate plan. It's required by OREG 50718. And we've actually exceeded our plan targets, which when the plan came due in 2019. For community education and engagement in terms of energy, we've conducted training, which is specialized and general training within the corporation to educate users and personnel on their role and how they can facilitate energy conservation. We've done energy audits throughout the corporation as well. We've done community awareness education on affordable and clean energy throughout the public. SDG 13 for climate action. This applies to the climate change pillar of the sustainability program. The City of Timmins is a member of the Partners for Climate Protection program, where we've achieved milestone 3 and we're working on milestone 4, implementing these policies and practices. We have a greenhouse gas reduction plan that's available on our website. It's both community and corporate led. We've been engaging the community to provide input and feedback on mitigation and adaptation planning over the last several years, including education pieces and attending in-person and virtual settings to gain and foster feedback. We recently moved towards climate change adaptation, where we conducted a climate change risk assessment report, and we're now in the process of developing a community climate change adaptation plan to improve our resiliency and reduce our vulnerability to the effects of climate change. And we're working with ICLEI Canada to foster a climate change adaptation plan, and we've conducted several virtual surveys with the public as well as regulators within our community, so that we can ensure that this community plan is a community plan that will be able to be implemented by several organizations. SDG 12, responsible consumption and production, relates to our waste management pillar. We've developed corporate single-use plastics reduction strategy to lead by example within the corporation's facilities, operations, and practices. We use tools such as the Timmins Recyclopedia, which is a web-based and app-based program to provide residents with information regarding waste management, collections, and programs to increase diversion, provide best practices, and improve collection services. And we're focused on community education and awareness to encourage responsible consumption through class and library presentations and through our Waste Wednesday posts, which are on our social media platform. This is some examples of the diversion programs that we have at the City of Timmins and that we've provided community education towards. We have tires and batteries and electronics and household hazardous and special waste event that we run every year, as well as a pilot textile program that we also piloted. For community programs, relevant pillar for this is the SDG 11, Sustainable Cities and Communities. On September 10th, 2019, a resolution was passed for the City of Timmins to become a B City through B City Canada. As a B City, we're committed to improving the health and sustainability of our community. The health and habitat of our local pollinators is of utmost importance for our ecology, and one of which we are excited to support in the years to come. Obtaining the status of B City supports and strengthens our commitment to educate, celebrate, and improve pollinator habitats across our community. The B City Pollinator team produces educational content, celebrates pollinators, and promotes the creation of pollinator habitats. For example, as we have on the slides here, we selected 2 pilot locations to transform city plots that were previously filled with one species of annuals to a pollinator-friendly habitat filled with a variety of species. And we provide several educational posts throughout the year on our social media platforms. And although this is just a brief review and reflection of SDG localization, we're committed to advancing this work. Partnerships are essential to the success of community programs. B City Timmins is a great example of how municipality, industries, businesses, and not-for-profit organizations have come together to produce initiatives that we as a community can be proud of. There are many challenges in Northern Ontario, but we are fortunate to have a community that is invested in our future and passionate about sustainability. Capacity is the biggest challenge for most municipal departments, and the City of Timmins is no stranger to that. However, there is a sense of community among northern municipalities, and we have close ties to each other. And one of our greatest strengths is the ability to communicate and share our work, challenges, and ideas. An example of this was the Northern Climate Change Network during our climate change risk assessment, which actually included Sault Ste. Marie and Thunder Bay, along with other northern municipalities. So providing opportunities for resource sharing and communication among municipalities that are working on SDG localization would be of great value, especially for staff where sustainability initiatives are not the primary focus of their position, but they are passionate about this. And we are very passionate about this work. And the more support that we get, the more we can produce and achieve local action. thank you, everybody. I'll stop sharing my screen and pass it on to Emily.
All right, well, hello everyone. My name is Emily Cormier. I'm the Sustainability Coordinator for the City of Sault Ste. Marie. Before I begin today, I'd like to acknowledge with respect that I'm speaking to you from Robinson Huron Treaty Territory, the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, home of Garden River First Nation, Batchewana First Nation, Missinaba Cree First Nation, and the Métis Nation. The city also acknowledges that this area is historically known as Pawaning. So today I'm just going to give you a little bit of background on Sault Ste. Marie for those who may not know about it or maybe haven't been here. Talk a little bit about what we're doing with regards to SDG localization, tie it into a lot of our work related to our greenhouse gas reduction plan and our introduction to a VLR with City Studio and some of our key takeaways about SDG localization in Sault Ste. Marie. So Sault Ste. Marie, we're a medium-sized single-tier municipality in Northern Ontario. We're located along the St. Mary's River and we border the northern part of Michigan. You can see here from the image on the screen that we're actually almost in the center of the Great Lakes, so you can't miss us. We have a population of about 72,000 people, and our major business sectors are steel manufacturing, forestry, research. We have a lot of renewable energy. We're planning a smart grid project. There's lottery and gaming here, IT and tourism. And I just wanted to highlight that we're also very, very famous for our fall colors. So to bring you into our story here of how we really got into this SDG world, it goes back to 2017 when a report was published in Sault Ste. Marie by our Community Adjustment Committee called A Common Cause and New Direction for Sault Ste. Marie. And the goal of this plan was to grow Sault Ste. Marie into a vibrant community with a population of 100,000 by 2037, so a 20-year plan. And this plan had 4 key action pillars, including actions with regards to growing our economy and diversifying it, building our social equity, cultural vitality, and environmental sustainability, which is really where I fit in. And after this report, we actually went through a bit of a restructuring process and created a new department called Community Development and Enterprise Services, which is actually in charge of ensuring the implementation of this report. Municipalities are no strangers to plans, and we really didn't want this one to wind up as another dusty book on a shelf. So this was a way to really ensure we would move forward with its implementation because it touched upon so many aspects of our community. Specifically, I lead sustainability initiatives across the organization from an environmental standpoint regarding our greenhouse gas reduction plan and its implementation, active transportation and biodiversity initiatives, and energy and emissions, and a whole lot more. Over time, we've really worked on a variety of environmental sustainability projects over the years. Dating back to 2007 is really when we started to kick things off with developing our Green Committee. And we have things that touch upon active transportation, fleet greening, asset management, stormwater, conservation and demand management. A lot of these things are regulatory, but some of them are also additional. And as Christina mentioned, Sault Ste. Marie was also part of the Northern Climate Change Network, where we developed a climate change risk assessment. So the baseline of an adaptation plan, which was completed in 2020. But the plan that really started getting things rolling here was our community greenhouse gas reduction plan. And this was unanimously approved by City Council in December of 2020. And its vision is to reduce emissions and work in partnership with residents, businesses, industry, nonprofit organizations, and other community members to achieve emissions reduction in Sault Ste. Marie. This plan is broken down into 7 key sectors based predominantly on emission sources, but also reduction action opportunities. So it looks at ways to reduce emissions in buildings, energy, corporate and community, transportation and waste, but opportunities in the green space, economic development, and municipal leadership sectors as well. And our long-term target is net zero emissions by 2050. In addition to those 7 pillars of our climate plan, we also have 8 guiding principles that tie into so many other aspects of our community. So the plan looks at affordability. So by reducing our energy costs, we're creating more economical housing, accountability, ensuring sustainable development for future generations, education and awareness by really promoting community understanding about climate change, and community pride by diversifying our sustainability options. We're improving our community well-being and even economic development. So looking at ways to attract clean tech businesses and even ecotourism into our community. The plan also looks at environment and habitat protection, so protecting species at risks and forests from climate impacts, and health by reducing the risks from climate change such as asthma and Lyme disease, and food security by increasing opportunities to produce food locally. After the plan was approved, some of the highlights in 2021, which was our first year of implementation, included establishing an environmental sustainability committee. This is a committee of council and it supports projects that relate to environmental sustainability. What's unique is that it's comprised predominantly of external stakeholders, including large industry, academia, among others. And this is a way for the municipality to really stay engaged and involved in the community. We also established a green fund to fund projects for local nonprofits and city departments to help them reduce their emissions, increase energy efficiency, or improve water quality. And we also appointed a permanent staff resource, me, and I think you can all appreciate that you really do need a person to help move some of these things forward. We created a web page on our city website to act as a one-stop shop for community climate change information. We prioritized a lot of our energy efficiency retrofits and created a supplemental climate action summary for each city department. We also worked in partnership with one of our neighboring First Nations, Garden River, to deliver a series of energy and emissions literacy initiatives. And to further encourage and promote our commitment to climate mitigation, we also joined the UN Cities Race to Zero campaign. This year, we also have a lot on the go. Long-term, we plan to go half electric for our city buses by 2026. This year, we're hoping to purchase our first electric bus, charger, and the infrastructure work required for more, as well as our very first electric Zamboni. We've got a lot of energy retrofits on the books, over 20. And from a waste management perspective, we're looking at reducing our single-use packaging material, working on offering source separated organics come 2025 as mandated by the province. And we're also working on community consultations for a single-use plastic ban, which we hope to take effect come July 1 in advance of the federal ban. From a planning perspective, we're developing an active transportation master plan, and we're even reviewing our official plan, which is in the process of being completed and updated through a climate lens by the Climate Risk Institute. And from an economic development standpoint, some of the many initiatives that they are doing is working on a bid to attract the Canada Water Agency to Sault Ste. Marie, as well as renewable energy companies to Sault Ste. Marie. So SDGs are a part of many aspects that we do at the city, as well as other community organizations. But a new initiative in Sault Ste. Marie is City Studio, which you're going to hear more about in the next session. And this is a collaborative project with the city and Algoma University to bring students, staff, faculty, and city personnel to work on community challenges and find solutions. So this year, students at the university are working on a VLR of the city's official plan backgrounder document, which will be the foundation document of our final official plan. And the 4 pillars that I mentioned to you earlier of our community development plan are overarching themes of this official plan and align to many of the SDGs. So this project will help determine which national and international targets are relevant to Sault Ste. Marie, assess how the current planning direction of our official plan addresses any of the Canadian and international SDG targets, and make recommendations regarding what the city needs to do in order to make progress on the relevant targets and goals. Some of the key takeaways that I have to share with you today have already been mentioned by my colleagues in Thunder Bay and Timmins. A couple of highlights I'd like to point out is we're really looking at a way of measuring our community development metrics as they relate to the SDGs. And the SDGs provide a really great pre-established framework that we can, try to align ourselves with the global goals. Northern Ontario has a traditional resource-based economy, so we're very prone to boom and bust cycles. So a sustainable method to really track our progress can increase community and economic development. One of the challenges for SDGs is that the roles and responsibilities for municipalities can vary. Many of the goals outlined in the SDGs are really the responsibility of senior levels of government. That being said, when the SDGs were being created, municipalities were at the forefront of stakeholders who were consulted because they are the ones on the ground who can really be accountable for some real change. And, the VLR that we're working on right now, it's looking at our official plan, which is really a land use planning document. So in the future, expanding this across the greater community would really provide us with a more in-depth VLR. Smaller, more remote communities traditionally often focus on doing what they have to do. So what is mandated by the province, the Planning Act, etc. And we often lack the sustainable or growing tax base to really allow us to go above and beyond our core responsibilities. But as Christina mentioned, municipalities are each other's best friends. One of the really great things about working in the municipal sector is that we're always willing to help each other out because we're all facing similar challenges, and it's not as competitive as other sectors. So my real closing remarks would be to, the best way to move forward with SDG localization is, maximize your resources, work on partnerships to really help, move forward with them. So my closing remarks would be that, this VLR project that we're working on in partnership with Algoma U is going to provide us with some excellent building blocks. We're always looking for opportunities to partner with local organizations as a municipality, not only for the environment, but again, many of the other SDGs. And this document will really allow us, to leverage it for other plans, funding, or even new projects. And again, helps us to seek alignment, with that community adjustment report that I mentioned, which is our 20-year plan. So it's really a great start. We've started now, so there's no going back. And yeah, I think I'll end it there. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you to all three of you who just presented. That was fantastic. And I love that you are all on time, which is wonderful with your presentations. So I realized that I never actually introduced myself at the beginning of the session. So my name is Elaine Hotusoni. I am a postdoctoral fellow at Algoma University and also a part-time faculty member there. And as Emily mentioned, I am teaching a couple of courses on the SDGs right now, or one of them is focused on the SDGs, and two of the courses are working on this VLR with the city. And so we'll talk a bit more about that in the next session, and you'll hear from some of the students as well who worked on that VLR process with us. So at this time, I would like to open up the floor, the proverbial floor, the web, I don't know, to any questions from our audience. I don't see anything in the Q and answer box, and I noticed that, Rebecca, you responded to a question in the chat, so thank you for that. But I will leave it to anyone who wants to type in any questions for the next couple of minutes. Let's give you a moment to see, and if not, I've got some questions. Okay, Albert is asking a question. Maybe Taylor might want to actually answer this one. Albert's interested in learning more about City Studio and who funds it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the question. So City Studio, and I'll get into it a little bit more in the next session, but City Studio Sault Ste. Marie is part of a larger global network of City Studio. City Studio Global is actually a nonprofit, but City Studio Sault Ste. Marie is funded in partnership by Algoma University and the City of Sault Ste. Marie. Myself, I work out of Algoma University, and I'm the coordinator for City Studio Sault Ste. Marie. It's been a very interesting project working through this VLR, and really rewarding as we're going through it as well.
Any other questions at this time from folks? Joshua, I see your note in the chat. I'm happy to. I don't think participants can unmute, or I would invite you to share for a moment what your experience doing a VLR in Hawaii was like, but not sure if you're able to unmute. So maybe that's something we'll have to wait for another time to hear. In the meantime, I would like to ask our city panelists how, if you have done any messaging with your communities about the SDGs in general and how that's been done so far.
I'll jump in if that's okay. So it's similarly to Timmins and Thunder Bay, like we're just starting this process. But when I was going to council to start the process of sharing the information from our very first community greenhouse gas emissions inventory, as well as sharing the results of our greenhouse gas reduction plan, I did bring forward the SDGs, alignment to them, those global targets as part of the the push on why we should be doing this. But it kind of ends there. So I think this VLR project is going to open that door, and I would love to really move and share this with the community. So food for thought, Taylor, after we do our hubbub.
I can go next. From an SDG perspective, we have not shared or communicated that with the public. We've focused on the specific projects that we're working on, and we have sought feedback and promoted the different initiatives that we're working on, but not in light of SDGs. That is something that we would like to do in future promotion and education. But as I mentioned before, this is the beginning of our journey on SDGs.
Okay, so I've just noticed a flurry of questions come in the Q&A box as well as in the chat. So we have a couple questions here. There's a question about what kind of resources have been found useful, for example, outside the North, or organizations like the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. I wonder if Rebecca might type a response to that. Looking into the future, what are you most excited about? For example, the next conference, new initiatives, funding opportunities, legislation change. There's that question. And also in your VLR process, have you learned to connect it with federal government? Maybe Rebecca, because you're further along, you could respond to that one too. So Maggie's question as well as Victoria's, and we can just focus on Zelda's question for the last couple minutes here. Looking to the future, what are you most excited about? So let's see if any of our city folks have anything to respond with that.
I can jump in here. I apologize. I did get kicked off for a second, so I missed a chunk. What I'm most excited about for the future is working together with all of our community partners from this VLR project. Lakehead University and Dr. Rebecca Schiff, especially, they have brought us all together, and we're now looking at ways that we can, maybe create a local hub for reporting all of this online and keep that up to date. So we're looking at ways to potentially have that funded, and it really is kind of exciting for all of our local organizations to come all together and work together on something as big as the Sustainable Development Goals as a community.
Just to add on that, we're kind of in a similar boat. In fact, this whole conversation about the SDGs started with taking a look at different tools such as tracking progress from the International Institute for Sustainable Development to come up with a way of having all of the metrics about our community's progress in one spot. I mean, you have organizations that focus on poverty, art, the environment, culture, economic development, but they tend to be a little bit more siloed. So this was kind of sparked that conversation about bringing information together. And I see value in every municipality doing this, but maybe down the road, there'll be a way for some kind of a centralized hub of this information that's really user-friendly, that can be tailored for communities, for all municipalities, big and small. So I think that would be something that I would like to see, because we don't want to have to reinvent the wheel if we're all working towards that same goal. So tying back into what we've all said, like working with other municipalities, especially in the North, where, like others, we've got those capacity constraints, is probably something that I can guarantee we'll continue to do.
I'd like to echo what Emily said about having, a hub where this information can be used as a resource, and that we have this one hub to be able to input this information. I'd say what I'm most excited about for the future of sustainable Timmins is breaking down the silos. Again, I'm echoing everything that Amy and Emily have said, but our capacity constraints are similar. And one of the things I'm most excited about with the climate change adaptation plan that we're working on is we've tried to break down silos from a corporate perspective. And now with the adaptation plan, we're trying to break down those silos in a community sense, because there's so much adaptation, climate change adaptation work that's happening. Some people don't even realize that it's adaptation, and they're all doing it in silos. And so being able to bring them together to say, instead of us all doing this separately, let's do this together and track and monitor our progress, so that we can identify as a community how we are becoming more resilient, and as a community we are adapting to the effects of climate change.
Excellent. Okay, I think we'll leave it there, as we only have about a minute and a half left of the session. So that was fantastic. Thank you, everyone. Hillary, I just responded to your comment with an email address if you want to provide your email, or you can put it in the chat if you're comfortable doing that. For everyone else, my email address is in the chat. I just put it in there. So if you have further questions for the panelists, I can always forward that on to you, or panelists can feel free to also put your email in there for everyone to access. Otherwise, hopefully we'll see some of you in the next session starting at 4 o'clock, and we'll get more into those VLRs. Thanks everyone for coming.